Hello, everybody. I apologize. It's very late. It is a very late time. Um, but I wanted to talk about some stuff, mostly definitions, or at least how people use definitions. Because I'm realizing that I'm not opposed to using metaphors, similes, and hyperboles. Other forms of, I can't even think of the actual term for literary devices, right? So people use them, and I'm not opposed to it. But what I am opposed to is definitions, because people will take the definition of something to mean basically something that, like, it's a substitute placeholder for them. I don't look at the world that way. It is partially understandable that because of emotional conditioning that well, language is a social structure, right? And social norms and ethics change over time. That makes sense. So it makes sense that people would use the definition of things to perhaps give it a different feeling, right? That's where the emotional conditioning comes in, is that definitions are applied from one word to the next, right? But there is syntax in a sentence. Furthermore, what people don't talk about is the like the morphemes, the smallest unit of like a vocalization. Like that is the wrong way to explain it. I've looked this up, but it's not coming to my head at the moment, so that's fine. But phonations. So people, if I say it, they don't like it. If I literally say it, what they're doing, then they don't like it. So they stick to the flexibility in the definitions. I apologize that some of parts of the words are coming out as air, because I'm trying not to do like that airy whisper, but I'm trying to speak in the lowest volume that I can and not really fast because it's 1:30. People can hear me, but if I keep it to like a lower level of sound, I think that would be fine. But I don't know. And that's the other thing. So people will pretend that they don't notice things in order so that they can give their definitions more flexibility. And that's a level of dishonesty that just throws me over the edge. But I am trying to accept people. I don't want to say that I'm not, because at the end of the day, I live in a society and I have to interact with people. But if I'm saying that pretty much they're all liars, then let's talk about the definition of what a lie is, because a lie can be a transitive verb. As in, I usually use lie as a verb. When you lie, it's an action that you are doing. But let's talk about the definition of action. If you are lying down flat, if it doesn't even need to be a person to lie. Do you see? This shit pisses me off. And it's a little bit insane that, like, I'm trying to learn Chinese and it's not insane because they have so many homophones that I get confused in the definitions. Like, the sentences don't make sense because it's like that could have meant a lot of different things, but I understand I lack the contextual awareness to put the individual sounds together and be like, oh no, it was this word, not this other word. Because it's like one sound, like shi, will have a shit ton of meanings. And it's like, it's just shi, and it's like, it has like 100 different definitions. And it's like, what the? So you're supposed to know, right, from the grammar that the syntax, there's there's going to be a word order for objects, the subject, and actions and locations and stuff like that. So to me, I'm just like, it's been like 5 years, a solid 5 years of me studying or in the background. Like, I wouldn't even say it's studying because I don't sit down every day and try to learn Chinese, but it's more so like I just put it in the background and I like read definitions and I'll like look up words and I'll look up characters and just kind of piece it together little by little. And after 5 years, I can kind of understand very basic sentences and like the grammar structure makes more sense. So I don't get as confused with how many shis there are. And I just... So we all to learn to internalize this type of structure in order for communication. But my thing is, when I was a kid, and I'm trying to get there again slowly, but I didn't ever think of anything when I thought of things. Like, it was a mixed media. It was movies and pictures and smells, sounds, sights, everything. And especially to this day, that it feels like I'm moving somewhere, that it feels like I'm going somewhere, but I'm just sitting still, or, body's moving, but I'm not like traveling 100 miles in that direction in a fraction of a second, but that's what it feels like in my head. And so I think there's the biggest distinction, at least between my mind and the mind of perceivingly what I take in to be the mind of everybody else. And so if it's happening in the brain that certain ideas and concepts are locations or things or, whatever, I do think that it's the ultimate betrayal to God and to your own body to be that disingenuous with reality. Like, if you're going through something, did God tell you this needs to be changed, this needs to be fixed, this is wrong, this is like bad, right? So if there's anything like that in your life, then you should do that, right? You should fix those things. But when it's only every other human purporting these things, that's not God. And I'm sitting here stringing arguments my whole life, of one word to the next, how you can apply one definition to the next word. So it's hard to do, because if you have 10 definitions to one word, right? or let's just say 5 to 10, or let's put it on the low side. Let's say one of the definitions only has 2, right? Let's say one of the words only has 2 definitions, but the other second word has maybe 5. Even just those 2, that's 10 possibilities, right? Of different things that you could mean. So if you add a third word in there, let's keep it at 5, right? 10 times 5. 10 times 5. 50, right? And so that's 50 different meanings. Of course, not all the definitions are going to be compatible, but if there is a flexibility in the language, shouldn't it be used in a way that's like more authentic to the world instead of less authentic? Because as far as I can see, everything in the universe, only a small fraction, I mean, what I can understand, I could look up to the sky and see the stars, but I can't verify any of that because I can't physically go there, right? I can't measure the time. I can't, for that travel. So, and it's interesting to me that, okay, well, if that's just my own experience that I get dizzy, well, no, not really, because when I see people doing the thing, they lose balance. Like, it's disorienting. And I understand that people think it's disorienting because of bad things, but I see the nicest people that tortured their body, and their body looks so bad. Like, it just looks bad. I can't explain it. People don't believe me, so I see it, and it's just like, I just saw you betray yourself. I mean, like, I just met you. Like, I just look at your body, and I can tell that you betrayed yourself your whole life. And then I look at, like, genuinely, just physiology, just how people move their arms, where they get tension in their body, where their muscles don't know how to use. And it's because, well, society has told everybody, we've all played into it, that all these things are going to be accepted because they keep a certain type of control. But I'm sitting here saying, that's not the type of control that I want. Everybody here is lacking, in my opinion, because of the decision to not prioritize their body first. Because in my opinion, if God made me, I'm perfect. There's nothing that any other human can give me other than their company and love. But what when that company and love is patronizing? What about when I know something that you don't, and you're gonna convince me, and so is everybody else, that I don't know it, all because I don't speak like you? Dude, like, that's ridiculous. All because I don't communicate my ideas like you. And I understand communication is more than just verbal. I understand it's physical. But that's the side that everybody else is ignoring. It's like, okay, if you want to focus on my verbiage and sentence structure, but if you're going to tell me that you know more about me because you're looking at words that I said that I'm not looking at, I said the exact words that I meant to say. And if I messed up in finishing a logical argument, it's there for a reason. And I do accept those. But then most of the time it's just because I had a thought so big that I could not possibly put it into so few words. And it's so frustrating that because I can't put something into a nice little even plate for somebody to, like, come up and eat that shit, right? If I don't do that, then it's nothing. It's nothing to the people around me. All they care about is what I can do for them, right? That's not how I felt my whole life. I've dedicated myself in the service of others, to the service of the world. And when I realized that every problem that I perceived in the world, it was just people trying to tell me that I'm not speaking like them. How retarded. Because, okay, if all of y'all are that smart, why is there so much latency in my wireless mouse? Why is it why is it not 0 seconds latency? Why is it 0.1 to 0.3 milliseconds? I mean, seconds in lag, right? And so I only have two conclusions. Either our society wants us to deal with this lag, or they don't know how to make it better. I do, but I'm not going to give that to the world. Because of the definitions. Like, if people want to use the definitions to their advantage, that's fine. I have nothing against that. But when everyone does it, like, it's cool to experience things. But I don't know. When I see people on the media, they're just like on this mental journey of like something that I completely do not and have not ever wanted. So, I'm just like, where are people's minds? I have a file here. Let me pull it up. Okay, that top part's not supposed to be there. Because I'm a math person. And I'm just thinking, so if you apply, let's take this first word, I'm. It's 2 words, I am. So, we've taken the liberty to combine those two. So we took 2 and combined it into 1. I am. We accept that that is one idea, one concept. I'm. It's one word. Just. I'm just. If we're on a binary system, we have I'm just, or I am just. And so there's where we can see how the definitions apply to themselves. If instead of thinking I'm just, I think I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So the one who is saying is just I. That makes sense. It's a very beautiful thing. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it doesn't have a great deal of substance behind it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying what I'm just saying. So we run into a problem in the way that people use it because they're counting syllables. That's the part that I'm not supposed to say. And AI blocks me on that too. So all I gotta say is whenever I try to confirm what it is, which I can put it here on paper or, write it down, and I it's there when I listen to people when they're talking to each other. they place the words over the words of, like, if you said 8, they're going to say 9, or they're going to say 8 nonsense, or just judging you, or just empathizing with you on those 8. And then these are 8 words, but syllables. Oh no, yeah, those are goddamn syllables. Yes, these are 7 words. Where's my mind? I don't know. And because I'm trying to break down a concept that nobody's ever gonna say it. Like, I'm genuinely, literally the only person saying it. Anybody who says this gets censored because they want to keep the status quo. That tells me it's not God. That tells me it's humans. So anyway, so the syllables, I'll just go ahead and do it. I'm just saying. So that's how they count in 4s. I'm just saying. What if there were evil people? So let's go back and see where I put the words. I'm just saying. So saying, what if there were, saying there were people. That's also another sentence, right? So now let's do the beginning ones. I'm just, what if evil? Oh my God, I made 2 statements in one because of the binary. I'm just saying, what if there were people? People. It lands back there on the first one, right? That's how people do language. I can admit that emotionally I have been subscribing to this and following it, and like when people toss me a pattern, I'll repeat it, I'll say it, I'll break away from it into what they consider bad things, but lo and behold, they just put the bad things in a specific position. So it's stupid. It's really ridiculous. If I'm saying that I have a larger brain and I'm analyzing a larger argument, what in hell would tell somebody that I'm trying to match them, or that I want to hear them try to match my words? Where are their minds, right? And that's the emotional conditioning, is that, okay, well, kinda it's wanting something to end, but also kinda that's the way that they've taught me to end things in conversation, emotionally, like emotively. All the media, all the people I interact with, every social thing is teaching me to do what they're trying to make me do, right? So I don't believe that that is healthy. I don't believe that. If you want to sit here and count every single number and then tell me what number was divisible by what, like the gaps between each word and each theme and blah, blah, blah. You can tell me that, and I'll accept that it means what you are saying that it means, or that it implies. I'll agree with that 100%. But that says nothing about who I actually am. That just says everything about my conditioning here in this world. So if I'm in a prison, basically, that's what it is. It's a slave system. I'm just expected to follow along, do my duties, and then die. And it's like, what progress is that for the actual God that's outside of humans, that does not count like this and then try to put things where God didn't put them? So like, if I was a genius thousands of years ago and started this is the full effect of it. It's like capitalism. When I see how irresponsible people can be just because they don't know the end effect of the causes that they did, I think we're really going to mess up everything, because nothing is made to last. Nothing is made to just be in its state and function and have longevity and have, like integralness. That's not what people do. I'm sitting here thinking about all the technology that I've conceptualized in my head and how not a single person else has ever conceptualized them. And I think of all the scientific research that I've independently done, and then the research that gets done that wasn't there before I tried to look it up, before I tried to literally search these questions into search engines for somebody else to do it. Right? It's a slave system. So at this point, I'm like 100%. I'm not going to give anything. Like, as far as these emotive rules go for grammar and for language and all that stuff, I'm willing to write music because I like to sing. That's it. And even that, I feel like that's too kind. It's like I've literally been tortured my whole life, and I'm supposed to give something beautiful to the people who did it, and I'm supposed to try to contribute to their system, and I'm supposed to try to learn their torture methods, basically, to give people worse physical realities within their own bodies. That is horrible. I understand. I see the difference between the people who can do it and who cannot. I'm definitely a person who cannot. And I see that I have no problem doing a lot of physical things that these other people don't. They can't. Sorry. I totally lost my train of thought. See, I don't know how many, and that tells me right there, I probably said a lot of statements in 4, because I forgot, because I'm just trying to dismiss. But like what I was trying to say is that I see in people that their bodies just can't do the physical things when they do the mental things. And it's a trade-off. I can't see it any other way. God gave you a decision, your body or your brain, I guess. Either, well, I don't know. Like, people want to say there's an unlimited amount of dimensions and all that stuff, but I'm like, mathematically, I can like prove it, agree with that there are, but it's a definitional thing. It's like, what's a dimension? Because we can agree that we live in 3 dimensions, and some people call, like 4-dimensional thinking this, but it's just like, no, because in a 4-dimensional space, every 3-dimensional object is just a line on a 4-dimensional space. How does that make sense to you telling the truth? That means that everything could be the truth. That does not make sense definitionally. Like, concepts need to progress, right? Concepts need to be made by people. And it's not going to happen by people trying to do the same stuff that doesn't work. And they're living in a world that I can't see. They're living in a world where they are just like, well, I don't know. I guess the argument is focus on this and that's what life is. But I'm like, that's why life is shit. Because if I like come up with this really odd task that everybody just needs to master, or else they get treated like shit and they don't get a good place in society because people are going to treat them less than, they're going to treat them like I genuinely don't get it. Like, in all the Bibles, doesn't God say to treat others nicely? I just don't get it. But at the same time, they have the same mentality that, like, no, my God is the right God. And it's like, how can you claim that, right? The concept of God can be owned by everybody, but that doesn't make your God real. that makes no logical sense as an argument, except when you look at how. So I live in a world where I can't see. I'm just talking, and then people have problems with it. And it's like, yeah, you have a problem in yourself, that you're seeing a problem in me, because I think I'm okay. I think I'm put together, besides the fact that this society has done all this shit to me. I think I'm fine. I think I'm like an okay person. I feel like I've lived a very upstanding moral life, and not like not like not like how people think what morality is. Like, I literally wrote a whole book. I guess it was AI, but whatever. I told it what to do. I told it what to take out, what was okay. I read the book. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm saying. It was way too long. By the end of the book, the words get way too complicated, and I'm just like, that's not what I'm telling you to do. That's the other way. But generally speaking, in that moral philosophy book, I redefined morality to mean ethics, because ethics is how morality is practiced. Yet everybody's claiming that they know what morality is, when at that level, morality is God. How can you say that you know the entire morality of God? I can't say I know all of it, but I can say all the negative things that I can see coming from it. I can say there's a lot of positive, but I'm not sure how much of that positive is due to something else, because I just have two links: the way people speak and their body. I'm looking at my body the whole time. Am I looking at the way that I speak the whole time? No, not really. But it is now a thing in my adult life that I think in words. And it's horrible. I don't want to think in words. That's the slowest way of communicating to myself. It's like 100 times slower than anything else could be in my brain. So why would I want to waste time to then invest more of my brain energy to put words in a specific spot so that people don't treat me like shit? They shouldn't be treating me like shit in the first place. I just don't like people to try to dictate how I should be speaking. Because, yes, it's a reflection on what's inside, but what's inside is also largely, like 99%, all the conditioning and all the media that's in the world. If you feed somebody poison and they get poisoned, you're the reason they got poisoned. You're the reason they're having all of these, like, problems with however that poison's going to affect them. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to, honestly, I'm trying to figure out if this is a feasible life that I can live. And I don't think it is, because of the way that people treat me. The only thing I wanted to do was progress humanity, and now I don't. Because, again, anything that I do, it's going to be twisted and used however they want. And I'm saying fundamentally something is just wrong with that system of speech, of trying to put words together in that way. Because it makes more sense to me if you want to stack the definitions and you're going to live on that, that's because you have limited brain capacity. And I don't want to be mean if I'm evolutionary different, right? Just as I don't want them to shit on me if they're just, or I'm just, or whoever, if we're just different, right? I'm not shitting on anybody. I genuinely have tried to be a nice person, but this whole last year, a little bit over a year, it's just been misunderstanding after misunderstanding in every single conversation that I have. And it's like, I don't want to be there. I do not want to leave my body to be in a place that's less functional, that's just going to deteriorate ugly at a faster pace. Like the whole body, I can't, skin quality, vision, hearing, like physical coordination is probably the biggest one. But people want to be retards. They want to literally retard their body in order to try to gain some type of control with words. Yes, you may talk. Yes, you may call it singing or dancing or whatever. But those are just words. Speaking is an action, but I won't grant it's the same type of action as physically changing things in the world, like with your body, like moving objects physically in the world. Because they're going to say, moving objects physically in the world. Oh yeah, that makes sense. You did move that object physically in that world. That's retarded. If I speak that way, it's not my intention. I don't think that way. But, I mean, I guess now I do because of conditioning. I don't want to. That's not my predominant way of thinking. But I don't want to spend any mental energy on it. I genuinely don't. It's not for me. It's not my place to try to tell words where they need to go, especially if I'm trying to tell somebody else to do that. That's So I'm just very disappointed as a person who has loved philosophy and loved learning, loved education. I'm very disappointed that this is what education is, because it's the most pointless, stupid shit. I can think of a million other ways to use brain power individually. Everybody has different ways that they could use it, but no, let's just make everybody retarded with words when they can do so much with their brains. Let's just make them retarded with words. Why? Fear? Fear of the unknown? Like, I understand that if I were to reach a place where these things mean less to me, where the words and the definitions mean less to me, then I will pick up on what it is that they're trying to have me pick up on. But I don't want to, because if I do that, then the information is not there. I don't know how else to say it. It's a substitute. You literally choose, I want to live in my head because I'm a selfish piece of shit, other than I want to live in my body and interact with the world genuinely, 100%. Instead, you're going to lie to yourself at every moment to try and match somebody else, to educate them, to what? But what are you educating on them on? For? Right? That technically still makes sense, but not in their way. So logically, one word to another gives you a much larger, a much better, more precise explanation, definition of everything. So why would you in your head choose, no, I'm going to change the definition of things to be more flexible to whatever I want, unless you as a person cannot do anything else substantial, which I don't believe is the case. And that's why I'm sitting here very upset, because it's like like Einstein said, if you measure a fish's intelligence by its ability to climb a tree, you're going to think that fish is stupid. So if we're measuring everybody on this one thing, God would not do that. God wouldn't. That's people's conception of God, that God would do those type of things. Like thousands and thousands of years of conditioning has led to this mindset. I don't believe that this has been a progress for humanity. I genuinely don't. I feel like the worst people survived. Evolution, natural selection didn't do its job. Because think of how many people had to die. Or, not people, sorry. I'm not even thinking about people, honestly. Think about how many seals had to die. Or how many species of the, evolution of the seals, for them to have, thick-ass skin to be able to, just be in freezing cold water and be warm. There were many creatures in between going to those areas, traveling back and forth, and there's this unconscious drive to do it, to live, to procreate, to, just do things in the earth. So the argument goes, well, if that's the only motivation, then you're missing God, because God put you there for a purpose, right? That's where I disagree. The purpose is to be. The purpose is not to try to control everything that you can. So if you are just being, you're just feeling, right? To a lot of people, just being means not feeling. That's where you're betraying your body. If you want to redirect it, that's fine. But to what extent? To what extreme? Do you need to be a fish that's going to die trying to climb a tree so that 100,000 years later, maybe there's a species of fish that climbs trees? Because you tried it, maybe you died. Maybe you were able to climb a little bit and you changed your mind and went back into the water, and then, you tell that story to your kid, and then your kid tries it. And they were born with a little bit of a different genetic. Maybe they didn't want to do it and went back to the water, or maybe they did. Maybe they were able to climb better. I don't know. Right? So maybe start with a bush. Maybe start with a little bonsai tree. So, but evolution didn't say, these are all things you want, they're going to happen. That's what humans are trying to do, though. In that state of non-existence, they're trying to reach that and put themselves in everywhere so that they can again, it's just emotive stuff. I don't know, if I could put myself in a position to just leave society, I would inherently take things with me from society and recreate them, unfortunately. But that's not what I would want to do, and I would make a lot of things different, infrastructure-wise. So many things different. I wouldn't make people try to, think a certain way. Genuinely, if the way that people think as opposed to me works better for them, that's fine, although they're always going to say that, because who wants to feel regret? And that blocks them from doing that, so... just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it's not happening. And that's the sad truth of I'm never going to do that. At least not if it doesn't just come out. I just word vomit and it's there. But if that's what people accept anyway, then why even give a shit? Why even try to do that? I've always been emotionally unstable, but when I'm alone, I'm stable. So that tells me the problem's not me. When I don't have to interact with people, when I could just be in my own space, I get better. My whole body gets better. I don't have to deal with my whole body feeling like it's just like being squeezed and tossed around and like numbed in so many places that I don't want to numb. And it has been numbed. And that's not my choice. Because when I was trying to access those muscles, when I was trying to move them, somebody told me something and they made me feel like shit every single time. That's what every conversation is. Because at this point, nobody can tell me any information that I can't just look up online if I need it. If I'm asking a person a question, it's because I want an answer. I don't want to hear where you think I should be putting my words while you give me an answer because you gave me a less good answer. Because your brain, instead of giving me 100% of the information that I was asking for, it gave me a smaller percentage. And unfortunately, when everybody does that all together and they all do it to one person who doesn't want to do that, it breaks down. So, my body, I guess, has to be the barometer to some degree for understanding language. And yeah, I just think that societally, it's going to be the same thing every single time I open my mouth. I'm going to say the same things because the problems aren't changing. The problems aren't getting fixed. They're not getting addressed. So I'm going to keep saying the same thing. And recently, you can see throughout my podcasts, I'm kind of just like, okay, how do I not divulge my personal information while still engaging in an argument? Because I do get upset. Certain themes I can and can't handle, but that has more to do with my body and the way I want to keep it and the diseases that I don't want to contract because I see them. And you have to accept that I might see something that you don't, but people don't. People don't accept that. People try to do it in the same manner that they're insulting you, and they're going to go ahead and compliment some other thing or some other person when in reality it was you. And I see it. If you look at somebody walking and they walk nice, and you see yourself walking and you walk ugly, you're going to want to walk nice. You're going to want to copy what they're doing. So whether that be verbally or physically copying what they're doing, how they're doing things, it's going to affect your brain. It's going to affect how you are able to think and do things. Like, it's all coming from here. There was this post that Kim Kardashian like got a frontal lobe like scan or something, and I've heard a lot of pseudoscience about the decalcification of the pineal gland and all that's like, it's pseudoscience. I know science. I know the body. I know how chemicals interact and move through the body, you know, and like the biology. But like I'm also familiar with the like the microbiology, the molecules and the atoms and the electrons and the subatomic particles. So I'm looking at it way from down there all the way to up here, and you lied to me. It took me 30 years to do that, but nobody else does that. So I have to genuinely believe that's just me. But what I will stand on is that I cannot do both. And if I try to do both, I'm going to lose one. So, oh well, it's my personal decision. People are always going to treat me bad. I'm never going to want to do the things that they say I should do. So I'm just going to be stuck in this perspective. And I like, when I slow down and I go and I listen to the people doing interviews and podcasts, and, you know, like, Some of them are like me. Some of them don't know what they're talking about. Some of them are trying to talk about certain things in a certain way, and people giving them leniency and like try to be nice and stuff. But like, to me, that causes psychosis. If you're letting people say things and believe things and you're not fixing it when they're wrong, you're doing them a disservice. You're not actually helping them connect. You're trying to make them disconnect from their body. And I understand some people do have that understanding, and they just don't say it because they're like, well, it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Of course, I can't say that because I'm not in a position to speak like them and then say it like them and then be like, yeah, I prefer that from the past. But like, realistically, who would put that much effort into something and then be like, oh yeah, I don't like it? Me. I would put that much effort into something. So if I slow things down and I like put the words and the definitions and I, like sit there and try to understand, like, I'm not just doing 4, by the way. I'm like doing other numbers. Like, probably I've listened to conversations and measured where they're putting the words, and like up to like, I don't know, I would say maybe like, well, just 1 through 25 for sure. But like, there's gaps in there because like certain numbers are overlapping, and it could be just like a pattern of a previous number that's not a prime number embedded in that prime number. So it's kind of just like, it's a little bit complicated. But so I'm just like, okay, where can you realistically put information in all of these areas? And that's what I've been doing for months now. And I've arrived at the conclusion that, well, because the first and the second are together, then that gives you permission to like stack the third thing back on the first, like a sequence. I don't know. But whatever. I've tried different sequences, different patterns, different, like, tried to listen just to melodies and not even the numbers and just the themes and just, like science stuff, experimenting, figuring out how something works. And all that I can take from it is like, if you say negative things in 4 and put the information at the beginning or like at the end, or like consistently in any spot, that's generally what people will call the truth. So I'm like, okay, if that's what you're calling the truth, then you have to be able to stack all of these definitions on top of each other for every word and the syllables, and then you have to be able to see that in your head, and then you also have to be able to respond to it in the appropriate, sectioning in order to say, this is like true, like very true. And I don't think that people do that. When I go and I listen, the best bet is anybody who knows sociology. They're like social worker type, communication majors type of thing. Those are the ones that get it, because I'm like, you're following that person into an emotional location. But what I won't grant is that it's okay to do that. Because if somebody like me is just speaking their mind, it's going to come out in a bunch of different patterns, but those patterns are based off of what you're telling me. And you are trying to communicate what I'm doing emotionally. And then I see you react emotionally in ways that were not relevant, because I don't find those things relevant. So if you're addressing things through the ethos, not the ethos, the ether, and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely there, like I can see things there. Okay, good for you. You're just being a little delusional, and it's the same thing as psychosis, really. But I mean, sure, you can control it. Okay, cool, good for you. But that doesn't mean that everything that transpired in that conversation was true about me. And so I guess that's where people will be like, well, I don't know. I didn't tell them to say that. They were the ones doing those patterns. I don't know. I beg to differ. If the whole world does it and then you react, then that's the world. That's not so much you. Like, I don't know. I'm not giving the same leniency to people who grew up in bad environments and have done bad things or just bad people. I'm not saying stay there. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying if you like, you just gotta think, like, just be rational. Like, there's too much. There's such thing as too much, and this is too much. Like, it's not conductive. But I'm not gonna convince anybody. I know that. I know I'm not. So these are just talking to myself, and I hope hundreds of years from now, somebody's gonna see this and be like, probably crying, crying like I do every day because I can't sleep. Like I'm very greatly affected by this. And I do hope that somebody can empathize with me in the way that I want them to, not the way that this society does. Because they preach about acceptance and tolerance and blah blah blah, but I'm like, no, I don't. If somebody's a bad person, don't tolerate them. Yeah, you can't force somebody to be a better person, but like, yeah, you kind of can. I don't know. Like, I guess I could kind of see where people are like, kind of put guardrails around things because it's like, just, well, I don't know. Like, I think people are self-driven enough to let a bad person lead them. And I just think that we're in a society where that happened like almost every time. And anybody like me who actually was trying to make a difference, I get very angry. They probably ended up dead. They probably ended up very frustrated and probably didn't make good decisions because that's how I feel. And then, but then I see people referring to things like that as drugs. Like, in conversation, just, keep an ear out that those are drugs. That drugs is not wanting to keep track of the stuff. And that's not what a drug is. But they'll call it medicine if it's gonna help you. But a drug and medicine are pretty much the same thing. It's just a chemical, right? But one of them, a drug, can help you, but it could also hurt you. But medicine can also hurt you, so I don't get the difference. It's people's prejudice. So if somebody tells me that it's a drug, I won't feel a way about it. But in the context of what they're saying and when they're saying it, then I'll take it a certain way. More of a negative connotation. But I don't know. I can't support the way, I can't support the status quo, the alma mater, the basic directives. And I wanted to join the military because I was like, yeah, I could like make technology for them or something. No. Because I'm like, well, what does the military do? Like, what? They count to 15. That's it. That's military. So I don't know. I'm like, everybody has their own style, right? Like, everybody, you could talk to somebody and they finesse in their own way. That's fine. I'm not against that. Those are like stylistic things to me. It's like, yeah, they move you, they make you feel a certain way, but do they make you speak truth? No. What the fuck? Like, do I believe that you have the authority and power to elicit from me all of the things that you are like compelling me to do? Right? No, I don't agree with that. I might play along, I might like say stuff because that's what I thought you were referring to, but then you flip it on me and it's like, that was for you. And then you flipped that entire theme on me. So at this point, I'm 29. I'm turning 30 in 6 months. And yeah, like I see that there's like generally like smart people that just don't get it. But then there's also like a lot of smart people that do get it. And then there's like also dumb people that just don't get it and dumb people that do get it. So it's like there's a little bit of both, but which one am I? I'm convinced the world is convinced I'm a dumb person who doesn't get it. And I'll be happy to play that role because I am a smart person in my mind. And if dumb people want to think that they're smart just to feel better, that's fine, right? I could perhaps, generally speaking, like look at myself in a way that is neither, but when I go out into the world and I interact with somebody, I'm immediately aware I'm either smart or dumb compared to this person, but regardless, they're treating me like shit. There's people who are nice and, you know, they only talk about good, positive things, but I'm like, I see that there is bad things and like negative things that you're not wanting to say. So I don't know, like that's eerie to people. I could talk about every topic comfortably and it would scare people because I'm just like okay with it. I've traumatized myself, not by my own volition, but just like things that I've gone through in life, things that I've seen unintentionally, and then added on top of that things that I've sought out and like seen intentionally that I'm just like, maybe I should not have. And I question how real some of those things are. But definitely not the ones that have happened to me. Because I've had, I think I talked about it in another video. Oh, no, I didn't. I just posted it on Instagram. I've had near-death experiences that I didn't tell anybody about. Just because I just didn't think it was relevant. Like, but it kept happening so many times that I genuinely believe, like, no, I can't die. Like, I'm not supposed to die yet. Like I could have died, but I was in a position where I was just able to do something and like just maneuver my way out of an extremely dangerous situation very quickly, like milliseconds. So I don't know. It's insane at this point in my life, and I've divulged that information and detailed it out just so that I could forget that it ever happened, because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to go back to the experience of these things. But informationally, they're still there. So I'm like, well, if I just say them, am I emotionally processing that? Am I emotionally working through that? I don't think so, really. Like, maybe not all the time, but it's definitely the case where the more that I just keep trying to let it go and like it happened, let me just say it and like put it out there and kind of just like feel my peace with that. That kind of helps. But as far as like my experience with I forgot how I got this NDA. I forgot how I got on this NDA thing. But I'm gonna have integrity and not edit and not go back and try to figure it out. I'm just gonna keep talking. So I mean, just generally, the whole argument is always the same, but all right, that I'm able to just discuss whatever I want at like a comfortable level. And right there, people would say, well, that implies that you really aren't, that there was something in something that I said that made me uncomfortable. But like, no, really, actually, I do remember it was like 2.5 times that I changed the idea that I was going to say because it just fit better with the words that I ended up saying. And that's what people don't understand, is that like, that's how I treat my brain, and I'm fine with it because that's the most accurate information. If I'm trying to like get rid of past experiences, traumatic events, and like just uncomfortable things that I don't want to deal with from my past, then talking about it and putting it out there definitely helps. See, okay, and I'll be specific. I was thinking when I lost my train of thought at the beginning of that sentence. I was thinking, wait, what's the best way to say this? That was it. That was the only thought. Is what's the best way to say this? And then I keep asking that. Wait, what's the best way to say this? Because I can't get all the words out. I can't get all the idea out at the given time. And so it angers me. It upsets me when people are like, that I'm being less accurate, or that I'm being wrong or inconsistent, which I'm like, no, not really. Because again, I'm comfortable talking about anything. If I forget about that topic, it's not because I'm uncomfortable talking about it. It's because I genuinely have just been conditioned in these ways of speaking, and there's just not enough time from my brain to the words that I need to say for me to say all of them. And like, so I have to pick and choose. I have to like leave certain concepts out because I can't. It'll just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. So I have to stop. I have to narrow it down, right? That's different than trying to put the words in a specific place when I say them to indicate that I'm telling the truth or to indicate that I'm speaking about a certain subject. No, I said it with my words. 100%. Like, one word to the next. The only thing I have to address at this point is stuttering and changing the sentence mid-sentence and expecting people to understand that. And to me, the reason I can justify that is because I'm listening to the tone of my voice. And that's genuinely the only reason. Because when I see what I've said, I can understand that multiple meanings were said, but I only meant one. And that is confusing. I'll admit that. And I'll say that that's probably the only place where I accept that this system is useful. That putting things in a specific place is useful, because if my mind, through conditioning, has, it's going to mess up and skip to say something that I had already said back then it's going to work. And it's going to be like, okay, my brain's going to get that. But at the same time, that's limiting so much more information that could have been there. Because if I was thinking about something and then my brain wasn't able to put it back into another position that I needed it in, where did that information go? That is a little bit concerning, but to me, it's just like, well, if you have me on this track and on this counting rhythm, and then you're going to emotionally tell me that I'm not supposed to land in a certain place, then when I'm trying to think of words to more accurately describe, now all of those words have escaped me because people have told me that those are the wrong words to use in that sequence, when that sequence is exactly what I meant, to arrive at the soonest possible conjunction of different definitions meeting and applying to each other. I'm not trying to add them and stack them and then do weird acrobats about, like, I said 2 here on the second thing, or if I say half and then I like half at the 9th, and then all of a sudden that means 4 syllables. Like, it's the stupidest shit. Sorry. I don't care. It's stupid. Emotively, if it is consistent psychologically, okay, I'll grant it that. But then I'm also going to say psychology doesn't dictate all the other advancements in every other field. It really doesn't. So, medicine is new. It's a new thing. I mean, modern medicine, but psychology is part of modern medicine. But medicine, I mean, I guess you can say that's as far back as we go, but I mean, at some point we probably were just rubbing up against bacteria, and then that made us stronger, and then eventually in our minds somewhere we're like forming this kind of bond with bacteria, like in our subconscious, and then eventually, hundreds of thousands of years later, we're like, oh, these things, like, wow, when I ate that, it made me feel this certain way, or like when I rubbed it on my skin, it like had a certain effect. And then, fermentation, alcohol, stuff like that, like we learn from our environments. We definitely contribute to the understanding of like different different ways to approach life and like interact with it. But I definitely don't think that what we consider medicine to be in today's day and age is a very helpful thing. I largely, and I am a nurse. I work in the medical field. Well, I'm not working right now because I gave up, but I don't know how long I can maintain giving up financially, like socially. Like people are helping me, and I can't count on everyone's else's help for everything. So but like me, as a person who's like been in that field, and I'm just like seeing how people are neglected and how people are like treated badly, and it's just like there's a lot of bureaucracy, and it's like people just need jobs. People just need to get paid. People need to show up to work and like do a little bit, and like that's it. I guess that's like cool, but I don't think that we have nearly the level and the quality of care that we could have. We don't have a lot of technologies that are being developed to help ameliorate pain, which I think is one of the biggest things is pain. We just tell people, just ignore it. But then we have, like painkillers from medicine, and like, what is it, like aspirin comes from like tree bark or something like that. And it's like all these technologies that are developed, they took a long time to reach where they are, and to think that, well, in today's society we have all the answers, that's very stupid. And I'm like, no, we have almost no answers. We have few answers on things that we know for sure, but even those things can be debated and like kind of like challenged from different perspectives and different like paradigms. So I don't think that it's too far from like just generally that's how we think, right? Like that's how humans are. But I do think that there's a large part of it that is just social conditioning, and people honestly like being hateful, thinking, oh, I'm being a nice person. Like, but I'll grant, most people that I come across the street, they're not like egregiously bad people. It's just the little things, but all the little things add up. Like you can't just be like the pennies add up. I don't know how else to say. If you go out and like find a penny in different locations, like all those pennies are gonna add up. But I don't think that um, brains and thoughts should work that way. Like, if somebody said something, it's not your job to try to like go over there and try to fix it. But if you think that something that they're doing is incorrect, yes, you should tell them, I think that's incorrect. You shouldn't tell them about something else, about a different situation where something is incorrect. That's such bullshit. That's the type of indirectness that I do not like. And I understand that people do it every single time. Every single time they do it, they're not gonna not do it. So, it's a long podcast today. I just had a lot on my mind, and there've been a lot of days that I'm just like, I need to do a podcast today, and I don't. Today was one of those days. Yesterday was one of those days. Today is not one of those days, but it is way early in the butt crack of the morning. It's not even the morning. It's not even dawn. What time is this? We got morning, afternoon, evening, night. Because you say at the break of dawn. I'm gonna Google it. "2:54 is dawn. I'm almost at dawn. Is night before dawn? Dawn is the moment when the geometric center of the sun is 18 degrees below the horizon in the morning. Astronomical dawn is when oh, okay. So it's when you can see the sun coming up. Okay, so but I can't see the sun coming up. Okay, dawn, and then sunrise, and then morning. The golden morning hour. So it's still morning. I've never looked this up. I mean, I've looked this up, but I have never looked up what exactly every time period is in the day. Like, what exactly is noon? What exactly is afternoon? What exactly is like morning? Like the hours? And I guess it depends on the sun. So, I don't know. It's really, really early in the AM. What does AM stand for? What does AM and PM stand for? Ante-meridium and post-meridium. Great. I'm gonna forget that. Meridium? See, I already forgot it. Ante and post, but what? Meridium. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna close it out. I don't want to. I feel like there were some things that I didn't quite finish, and I'm gonna go back, and it's gonna feel really gross. It's gonna feel really wrong that I did not finish certain ideas, and I didn't like close them out right. But people generally 100% accept that, and I am not okay with that. But hey, that's why my brain is not functional, because I can't rely on everybody else around me to help me with my brain. I can only rely on them to try and guess and cryptically tell me where I'm placing my words emotively. Okay. Goodbye.